Hi, this is Bernie. How's it going? How you doing? I'm just sitting here finishing up my week on Wednesday night, April the not Saturday, Saturday the 18th, I guess. I have to double check my calendar. I'm sure it is though, the 18th. Anyways, Easter is come and gone, and we're sitting here, and I'm ad libbing tonight. This is a special socio compass moment, and I'm gonna just wing it. Usually, I don't know if you know much about me. Actually, you do. I put a lot on social media to get my review out there of me and my company, and I'm a person-driven business at this point, not a board of directors or you know whatever silent shareholders. Customer-driven always, but it's me, the one man show, creating everything, has created everything in this 30-year vision plan that I've been working on adamantly for 3 years now. Got my first customers last year. Some of them didn't pay their bills and ripped me off, but I'll get that figured out, I suppose. This year we're driving ahead forward, and what I wanted to tell you is one of the things is I wing it, right? I usually have some thoughts in my head about what I want to talk about. And the only time I've ever used notes is at my dad's funeral because of my family's insistence and the importance of that event. And we all wanted our input, so the best outcome was decided by everybody in the group. And you got to be that formal sometime to have me read off a pre-written all the stories and documents of his life, and it worked out good. I was glad. I had so many people come up and thank me, but usually in my speaking style, I just have a few thoughts in my head and I wing it, and that's how I go and flow. And you've seen me, so if you find me interesting, hopefully that's working well. But tonight, doing it different, I decided to wing it. So I have nothing in my head per se in terms of what I want to talk about, other than, well, one or two little things. My company, the Compass, my company has 14 business units in it. The CCI, Connections Consulting Group of Companies, or CCI Group, if you want to call it that. And I'm just sitting here watching COVID, AK Tandon, and CTV News, and the COVID events and times and all that, just trying to keep up. And, and what's going on. It's not surprising, but there is some new stuff you got to formulate and figure into your business plan. But in my group, I have 14 business units, the Compass being a leader in educational knowledge, practical for this times. What I'm trying to do, and astute in that knowledge, is not only giving you a faith base of belief in my personal development side of my company, the CCI Good Samaritan news side for your faith forever, your faith today kind of thing, your faith to go on. But I'm also trying to give practical solutions. I see the media, I see what they're doing. Sometimes it's hype, fear, critical from other people, and they're taking it on. They get negative, they're human. There's some guys doing really good, but they boast sometimes a lot, whatever. And they're trying to do a good job, but they don't always get it. They're doing the best with the information they have. Most people are trying to be honest here, I think, but sometimes the assumption is the worst, and it could get better before you know. Like maybe tomorrow, or the next day, things will be better. Maybe in a month, the government will open up the borders as the death and all the numbers start showing themselves the way they're supposed to, and the health medical field has thought and sought after. We don't know. So what I'm trying to do is take in all the media and then put it, in my public assertion of my consulting business, give you a view. Because we all need that, right? practical advice. And what does a business consultant do? Here, I'm just going to shut that off. It's getting kind of loud back there. They're talking a bit much. So the mute is on, and okay, there we go. You know, it's interesting to hear. There's been, news from Vancouver Island all the way out to the Maritimes, and apparently BC did really well. Remember, I'm winging it here, right? So, think with me a bit here. But BC did really well on whatever their COVID research was, because their numbers were way down in terms of immediate benefit, getting people out of the sickness ward, I suppose, low respirator numbers, getting people back out into health, and trying to live life as normally as we can. They're all under shelter and all that. But one thing that I've never heard anywhere said in media, and I'm trying to hear this somewhere, is, are they articulating those numbers to us based on population? In other words, a death in Saskatchewan is equal to how many deaths in BC? 10? Or what is it? And then, because you got to factor in population and then the amount of distance we have from each other in our space of our living, I suppose. In China, in New York, wherever, the numbers are up, but then the distance between people is up. So as they project ahead, the time we get out of this curve, BC did a wonderful job, but is Saskatchewan gonna, if they take on the BC methodology, what are they gonna learn? Like, how's the graph gonna look? Like, it's like fractions, and are they gonna do the math to figure out, based on distance between people, this might occur in another province? So that's one thing I'm wondering. And then the other, I guess the second thing I haven't heard anywhere is, okay, no, what was that? I got to think about this thought again. This is random. It's all improvised, so we'll just go a different direction maybe. Yeah, I can't remember. Whatever. You know how that happens. Hey, you just have a thought and you lose your train of thought for a minute. And anyways, it was something to do with, I haven't heard anybody say this yet, and I was thinking, well, why are they talking about that? It makes sense to me, in my wisdom of how the world works. Why wouldn't they be talking about that? Oh, I never hear anybody asking, I never hear the media asking in all their, in their interjectory knowledge, because they talk across provinces. Apparently the medical health officer chiefs talk. They have a twice-a-week meeting between provinces trying to learn. So that's for our protection, right? If one province does something better than the other. But I haven't heard anybody say, what can we learn from you, other than just that question. They haven't asked specifically, what have you done different than what we're doing? And I haven't heard anybody communicate that knowledge. Like if I ask you, what can I learn from you? That's a broad spectrum of stuff. Like, I want somebody to get more specific, because it's specific. People are dying everywhere, and they want us to have this knowledge of being 2 meters apart from people in grocery stores and all this. But I want it, like, why can't someone get specific when they ask a question? Well, what can we learn from you? Why can't they get better at it and say, what did we do different than you? Like if I'm going to ask you, how come you're doing so much better? Why can't I ask you, and I should be able to, this is what we've done. Now, what have you done different than that to make you sure that you're getting better numbers and counts? And I want to know that. I want to live the best I can. I'm sure you do. That's why you're listening here. Hopefully you are giving me this 22 minutes, I suppose. I don't know. I'm winging it, right? I have my ice cream. I got I'll tell you something. I bought caramel sauce at the store, and you should never. You know how the writing is the opposite of the way you think? If you set it the way you read the writing, the lid is actually on the bottom. Well, don't do that after you open that seal because then it all leaks out on the top of your counter. And if it's in the fridge or on the top of the fridge, then you got a mess. But it's convenient when they have the seal on, I guess. Anyways, I'm enjoying it. And having some ice cream, finishing up my work week here on Saturday. And it's good. You have to enjoy the little things in life. What else can you do in COVID times? I mean, it's +3 in April. April the 18th is +3. There was snow skiffs again today. And I mean, maybe that's more like the old days, like way before I was born. I don't know. But, you know, it seems like it's colder later. So who's complaining? I don't know. I want to go for a walk. I know we're supposed to stay home, and they're all telling us that, Justin Trudeau, everybody. But, you know, you got to go for a walk, and it's nice when it's warm weather, so you dress warm. But The Compass is my book on this thing, on educational knowledge. I have for the practical dealing with the syndromes of today. I have 14 companies within my company. 3 of them are business units, like training and teaching. Another one is the Connections Mountain Adventure side, and then the land development side. And, you know, so that's just the first and foremost. You know where I've been working. You see me posting it. And you can go all down. I won't go through the list. It's kind of, well, 14 is a big number. I hardly have patience anymore. I know most people have probably shut this video off at 7 minutes. I'm at 12 now. And I hardly have patience anymore because why would you? I don't, right? You don't. I don't. Who does? You know, I can cook my microwave food in 20 seconds. Why should I? Anyways, my Compass thing is... it's about that, and it's a sales blog. It's tied into my selling principles. The purpose of my company is selling business management, training, teaching, projects, and the personal development side, the spiritual growth. And it's one of 3 kind of subsidiaries I have in that part of the total to do with publishing education. And you know, we go a long ways in that. My mother was a teacher, I suppose, so I inherited that by a nature of just being with my mom growing up and through life. And, excuse me, I gotta sneeze. Anyway, marijuana prices are like going into Starbucks. I've been investigating a bit as I grow that farmer account side of my business, growing Western Canada marijuana contract crops for a profit growth for Bernie May. CCI, not a subsidiary, that's within our total projects work side of the company. But, you know, a latte or a microcraft beer or an admission to a low-key, you know, Wheatland Junior B hockey game is all about $6, $7, $8, somewhere in there, right? So you do what you want with your time for a couple hours and enjoy life, I suppose, as best we can. So I've got those 3 publication subsidiaries. I got 3 volunteer units. I have 2 ministries to top off the bottom of the list. I got the church side of the equation. Lots of people don't, lots do. But to me, they're a valuable part of the sector I grew up in the total market sector of everything, industry and everything. And the church part, you know, I got dragged off to church by my mother, I suppose, the 4 boys, me and my brothers. And we went and we heard the good wisdom of Jesus teaching and the ancient history principles. And I equate that to no one but myself for doing that. I could have disagreed, and I might have found argument in my dad or not. I think he probably said a couple times he said to Mom, go with your mom. And he had breakfast cooking when we got home, but that was good. Excuse me. I have an ice cream here. That agreed with me, I guess. But anyways, so, to me that's important. Ministry, the stopbully.net.org and all that stuff. I'm dealing with the Bully Network and pulling on them for more because, boy, you bully sometimes out there, don't you? Whoever's listening, hopefully one or two you bullies get frightened in fear when you hear this and me talking to you. Because some of you are a little bit too strong with people sometimes, and you know it, and you're doing it for whatever reason. And, it's no good. So I'm pulling on those guys for more, and it's partly, helping, like, in that internal teaching, right? So teach education. People pursue, I don't know if people pursue it or not. I think we do. Sometimes we just hear it, and it's through, at the right time, I guess, and that's good. We need that. So there's that, and I guess kind of the two components of my voluntary side. It's humanitarian. We call it nonprofit on earth, in our earth life, and it's really weird because in heaven, some of the nonprofit stuff you do will profit you more in your eternity, eternal reward, I suppose, than anything. It's kind of a misnomer, but that's what we call it down here, nonprofit. It's very profitable. Helping people with things that matter. Clothing, feeding, hungry people, clothing them when they're naked. I don't ever want to be naked. I don't want to ever be naked laying outside, drunk, out of course with people in a bad way. And nobody, like when someone helps you out in a neighborly way like that, that's awesome. And I couldn't imagine. I remember when Ralph Klein, and this isn't to discredit him. I loved him as a premier. I thought he was a common sense guy, but he got really drunk that time and he went in to a homeless shelter and he threw $100. He had his limo cabbie guy take him by the homeless shelter after he was in the bar all night, I guess. This is what I remember. He was the premier of Alberta, good premier. He was a good mayor of Calgary and a good weatherman. And he threw $100 on a homeless guy and said, get a job when he was inebriated, out of it. And you know what? It's too bad. That's kind of insulting in some ways, but I suppose that guy did know how to get a job. Maybe he just didn't need one that day. I don't know what. But, some people don't ever get over their addictions, I suppose. And you can't leave people, if you got humanity, you should not leave them on the street, right? If they can get a work or get taken care of. And the government's got a big job, and I hope Justin Trudeau's going to get that money out. He's been sure saying a lot of stuff every day. I hope that money gets out to people. And I'd like to hear someone actually tell me they got some good news. I can't even get through on the phone lines yet to ask some questions I need to verify, what my income statement is with them on their records and all that. And anyways, that'll get through, I hope. It's one thing to talk, but if you can't do, you got a problem. You're just a big bureaucratic organization, I suppose, if you can't follow through and make it happen and do. And that's where a lot of stuff falls down, eh? So the compass, I got Life Pro, I suppose. That's for youth in the inner city. It's an educational program, and that's a humanitarian business unit or organization to teach life skills to people. I learned a lot, as my brothers did, my family, lots of people around us in the same area. Good, Catholic upbringing in our community. We were Protestants, united, and learning educational stuff in our school system from our dad, I suppose, and our mother as a teacher, as she was, and retired that way. Well, not like actively working, but that was her training. And we learned good life skills. Well, lots of people haven't had that opportunity. You see these people shooting each other in the ghettos and stuff, and it's a problem in some cities. Like in Chicago alone, a couple of years ago, there was like 6,700 black young people murdered and died in the ghettos from gunfights and warfare. Like, who needs that? So if you can learn and grow in your mind concept of things, you're going to do better in life. So we got Life Pro, that's that educational side. The Good Samaritan Life Pro, personal leadership, daily best, body, mind, and spirit, I suppose, is about teaching just good practical principles, tying in the faith base from ancient history principles to do better today. And that's what I do, non-profit or free as part of my overall company. On the outset, I call it non-profit, but in the heavenly reward side, eternity, it's not. It's very profitable. But today, the profit marker on this side of life is business training and those principles. And I can teach that to any organization. I don't care if you're a street fight gang bike thing. I'll teach you if you want to hire me. I don't care. But you gotta want to subscribe to the ethics of it and move forward in a direction. If you were maybe foundered in something that wasn't a heavenly reward, it was a bunch of refute and fighting and stuff, right? So there's that. You can teach the hockey rinks, organization, hockey groups, organizations, humanitarian, government organizations, business companies, all of it. So I'm signing off. I want to say one lady I met was Rose Tifo. She was going out of a church the same time I was going in. 22 years she's been there at that church. And I was just joining, and I was there for 10. And I went after her in the community because she worked with young, troubled people, drug people. And I thought, I think you should stay. Why? Because I was joining. And to me, that's a good enough reason. If you're Bernie May and you're joining something, I think you should stay. Because I think I promote to people, I'm part of it. So you should stay. You should be part of it. That's a good enough reason. Because I am something worth it. And I am exciting it, and I'm part of it. And I'm excitement alone to be part of it. And that's a good cause. Bernie May, Connections Consulting, 1-403-519-3495. Book us today.